Guys, what's good? What's good? I hope you guys are well. So, guys, I've just woke up and I thought I'd do a quick. Thought I'd do a quick vid after the fight last night. Now, that was a brutal beatdown and a beat up. I mean, Callum Smith got absolutely battered in that fight. That was a brutal beatdown by Artur Beterbiev. And to be honest, I didn't expect anything less. Now, Callum Smith, this is twice now he's stepped up to elite level and unfortunately come out, short and not just short, very poor performance in the sense that people expect him to do a lot better and then he goes in there and performs a lot worse. I mean, people were saying before the Canelo fight that he had beat Canelo. Then people made excuses that he was drained. Then they said at 175 he's a different beast. And then people said prior to the Beterbiev fight, oh well, he's going to he's going to knock out Beterbiev clean. And obviously Eddie Hearn is the promoter of Callum Smith. He's gonna say that. That's just natural promoter talk. But even many fans, British fans, thought Callum Smith was going to knock him out, this, that, the other, and it was probably the worst beatdown ever. So and I said this would happen. I said, like, I know I didn't do a prediction. I should have done a prediction, but I knew this was going to happen. I knew because I didn't think it was anything to do with the weight when he fought Canelo. I just think Callum Smith looks good against certain caliber of opposition. But when he steps up to that next level, I don't think he's as good as he's been made out to be. I don't think his power is as elite as what people make him out to be. I don't think his boxing ability in general is as good as what it gets made out to be. What impressed me about Beterbiev, the way Beterbiev was able to get in and out of range so quick, and Callum Smith couldn't even land clean shots on him, really. If we look at it, Callum Smith couldn't even land clean shots. He couldn't land clean shots on Beterbiev, and Beterbiev really dominated that fight. I mean, it was so easy for him. A lot of people were going off, oh, well, you know what, Yard did well against Beterbiev, so that means Callum Smith. I think Callum Smith's style, people were saying Beterbiev's tailor-made for Callum Smith. No, Callum Smith was tailor-made for Beterbiev. If John Ryder and Canelo were able to push Callum Smith back, what's Beterbiev going to do? He's going to beat the crap out of him. Beterbiev's style was all wrong for Callum Smith. It was all wrong. Because going off what Callum Smith has struggled previously, it was all wrong. And basically, that's what's happened. Callum Smith just got pummeled from pillar to post. And I don't see how anyone else thought that Callum Smith had much of a chance in this fight. Just going off what he struggled off previously. If John Ryder, a blown-up middleweight, was giving Callum Smith trouble. Canelo Alvarez, right, who's a lot smaller than Beterbiev, battered him. Right? Beterbiev was going to annihilate him. I mean, that was obvious. He literally beat him up, like, so easily as well. I think that was one of his easiest fights. Callum Smith is tough. And don't get me wrong, he doesn't quit. I think something's not right mentally when he goes to that elite level. He fights within himself. Even the way he throws his punches, he's more tense. If you look at the Canelo fight, he was so tensed. If you look at the fight here, he was so tense. I don't know whether the fear of who he's in with gets to him, but something's not right because when he's fighting these other guys, he's so explosive. But maybe it's just those guys that he's fighting aren't good. Those guys that he's fighting and he's dominant, he's beating up and knocking out. Those guys just aren't top tier guys. Because if you look at Callum Smith's whole career, he hasn't really beaten anybody of any kind of note. I mean, he beat Groves, but Groves was at the end of his career and it was coming off injury or surgery or whatever he was coming off. And it wasn't as if Groves was Beterbiev or Groves was Canelo. So he's never really fought any, like, in my opinion, got a resume that is stacked with great fighters. And anyone that he is fought half decent, he struggled. I mean, Ryder, most people thought he lost that. Canelo really beat him up. And then Beterbiev just wiped him out. So really, I don't think he's a top tier kind of fighter, which unfortunately a lot of British fans thought he was. I actually thought, when I first saw Callum Smith, I thought Callum Smith was going to be the real deal. I literally thought this guy was going to be the best in the world. I looked at him and I go, this guy, he's massive, he's tall, he's fast, he's got power. I thought this guy was going to be the next big thing. I honestly thought he was going to be unstoppable. But to be honest with you, I think Callum Smith is one of those fighters that you look at him and you think he's got everything. But it just shows that I think you need to have the mental attributes along with the physical attributes to be successful in sport. And I just don't know whether Callum Smith mentally is that strong, because for me, when I see him against the top tier guys, it seems like he freezes to me. He's tough. He'll take a punishment like he did against Canelo and against Beterbiev, but he just doesn't, it seems like something doesn't click for him when he gets in the ring with somebody that, he's in there that is top tier. He doesn't fight the way he fights when he's fighting guys of lower level. That could be, again, the guys that he's fighting at lower level don't have the ability like the guys at the top. But it's just the way he folds so quickly. I mean, against Canelo, he didn't do anything. Here, he didn't do much. So, I don't know how people thought he would beat Beterbiev. I genuinely don't know. But again, I would say that Callum Smith has been hyped a lot, and a lot of people kind of bought into that hype, but I don't think he's as good as what he unfortunately was hyped up to be. Because if he was as good as what he was hyped up to be, then I definitely think he would be putting in better performances than what he's done. People trying to make out what Beterbiev was juiced, or that's all nonsense, because it was a typical finding, which obviously it raises suspicion, but it's not a failed test. So again, when people have an agenda and they obviously are upset that a fighter that they thought was going to win got battered, they start to bring up excuses, a la Tony Bellew, who kind of brought out, oh, this guy's getting better and he's just gone blue Callum Smith. He's not getting better. He's blown everyone away. That's how he fights. He's knocked everybody out. So how is Callum Smith any different? It's not like Callum Smith was an all-time great. He's just gone in there and Beterbiev just wiped him out. Callum Smith, he's not done anything to be above average at this point. In the sport of boxing, he won a world title against George Groves, who was past his best, right? That's his only name that he's got of any kind of note that he's beaten. So I don't know what Callum Smith has done to make Tony Bellew think that he was going to go in there and dominate Beterbiev. Or beat Beterbiev. Beterbiev has had a better career than Callum Smith in boxing as an amateur and as a pro. It's not close. Smith hasn't had anywhere near the career of Beterbiev. So the fact that Tony Bellew even thought that he would go in there and beat Beterbiev is laughable. But obviously, I understand he's from that area, so he's supporting his fellow Scouser, which is fair enough. But really, Bellew there is just being biased, because there's no way that Beterbiev was going to lose to Callum Smith. Callum Smith isn't on that kind of level. He's never been on that kind of level. And how people in the UK thought that this guy was on that level, look, I'll take that back, actually, because I actually thought he was when I first saw him. When he was fighting Rocky Fieldings and guys like that early on, I thought this guy was going to be unstoppable. I genuinely thought he was, and I was actually one of the guys that actually thought he could beat Canelo. I genuinely thought he could beat Canelo because of his size. But when I saw that fight, I literally went off Callum Smith. I was like, this guy's no good, because there's no way a guy would go in there and put in that kind of performance. He froze. And he froze again. So this tells me anytime this guy goes in there with somebody that is on the level of a Beterbiev or Canelo, he's going to do the same. He's going to freeze. He's not top tier. And until people understand that, that's just what it is. He's not top tier, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people's opinion now. But yeah, what do you guys make of it? Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Love to know your opinion, guys. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.